Meditation. When confronted by this idea, people ask, what is meditation? How is it done? Why is it effective? Why have so many people in the past claimed so many benefits, stated so many intense declarations about what meditation is capable of producing, of rendering, of bringing forth? Why meditation? Why is that, above all other things that we might conceivably do, the thing that messiahs tell us to practice, the thing that gurus, that enlightened ones, that obscure, laughing Buddhas in the flesh, that strangers and intelligentsia across the board in some way or another find some connection to meditation? What is it? Why is it? Who is it? Is that a weird question to ask? I propose to you that it is not some abstract belief, that it is not some dogmatic construct, that it is not something to have blind faith in, because blind faith renders you blind. There is none of that in meditation. Meditation is arguably an intuitive, organic, simple, and inborn, intuitive part of our genome, part of our instincts, part of our hardwiring, part of our programming, the natural, organic programming. Because, as all things can be divided into two mutually arising dichotomies, false or true, this very notion of what's inside of us, what is happening in our consciousness, is forever divided into mutually arising dichotomies, both false and true. By that I mean that some of those dichotomies are real things, and some of those dichotomies are false things. But they are mutually arising and intrinsically tied to each other and inherently attached or embedded in our mind constructs at this stage of things, this level of operation. We are bound by our biases, our assumptions, our beliefs, our ideological constructs, our patriotisms, our sociopathic biases, whatever label you want to use. We are indeed limited by them. Thus, understanding that we are bound and limited by the shit that goes on in our heads. And by saying that, I mean that, the abstract thoughts, the crazy, why are we thinking about these thoughts? That come from within, from ourselves. If we look inside that, ding, deeper, beyond, behind, beneath, under and over and through the labels and ideologies and constructs that we cling to. Deep down in there, we will find that which clarifies all the confusion by the sheer brutal force of its truth, of its undeniableness, of its undebunkableness, of its direct phenomenological, experiential. It's been confirmed because I was there and I felt it and I confirmed it, and there's no words to define it otherwise kind of experience. And no one wants to have that experience. And that, my dear friends and listeners, is precisely the problem that we face. The symptoms of symptomologies of this complexes of problems that we have are due to the fact that we as a species have hijacked ourselves, oppressed ourselves, denied ourselves, objectified ourselves, and brutalized ourselves, traumatized ourselves. And I phrase it that way because those of you who are following along already know we are inseparable from each other. I know, you're over there, I'm over here, my body, your body, the distance between us. That's all a delightful illusion. That's all a beautiful hologram of nothingness. If there's one sentence that came out of the Coen brothers when they wrote The Matrix that should be honored as the deepest wisdom shared in that movie, is the moment where Neo arrives at that, like witchy woman's house. But before he can meet her, this seer, this prophet, this scryer, this intuitive witchy woman, before he can see her, he's got to sit in the lobby, right? In the lobby, there's other youth that are being tested, that are being brought forth to see if they will illuminate. And he speaks to an enlightened one sitting in the lobby. And the one sentence is about this: there is no spoon. To bend the spoon, you must understand and remember that there is no spoon. What does that mean in, like, traditional, pragmatic, everyday terms? And please, if you've heard me ramble about this before already, forgive me for repeating myself. I just am burning with passion for it right now. There is no spoon is a symbol for there is no this and that and greed and politics. There is no material realm. There is no flat earth. There is no round earth. There is no globe earth. There is no, even my own personal favorite thesis, womb earth. The womb that is giving birth to us. The feminine childbearing cavity that is somewhat globy shaped, but maybe also flat in its own dimensionality. That middle ground, split the difference, prove you both wrong, but also it doesn't really matter, sort of, because everything is wrong model of conceptualizing of what mother is. Why do we need it to be a place when it is the mother that is giving birth to us? So many layers of contemplation, so many layers of analysis, so many layers of debate and discussion that are not being attended to because we're distracted by politics. We're distracted by gender. We're distracted by identity. We're distracted by words. Labels. To spin and bite off the Shakespeare. Identity constructs. They mean nothing once you transcend all of their boundaries. And that's not some utopian bullshittery, pillow-biting, self-masturbating nonsense. That's that which exists already before us, that we have conditioned ourselves, lied to ourselves, brainwashed ourselves into neglecting, ignoring, and pretending does not exist. There is no heaven, nor is there a hell beyond that which we already manifest in our minds. There is no demon beyond that which you make up for yourself in your head. There is no death, there is no birth beyond that which we dream and elucidate through this unfolding. All of this is a hall of mirrors, a matrix of confusion for the purposes of developing growth, testing, developing growth, the expansion and graduation. To use a word in an anachronistic way that is not what most people think of when they hear that word. I don't mean getting the cap and turning it and flipping it and throwing it in the air. I mean the elevation through gradients. That's what graduation means. We've turned it into this like, oh, you're done with school, goodbye now, ceremony. But graduation is a perpetual ongoing process, as is your life, as is the universe, as is this place, which is not a place, but a living entity that's giving birth to us. There is an endless unfolding that must continue to occur. Connecting to that is the moral imperative of our generations. Because I'm 42 and you might be 17 listening to this. You might be 9 or 11 or 29 or 50 or 98. You might be any age between the beginning and the end. And I'm just here as one voice to shout out and remind and recall and hopefully refocus our attention as a species to this issue that is the moral imperative of our generations. The healing that needs to be done because we are all traumatized. The healing that needs to be conducted across the entire species-wide spiritual network in order for us to be even preliminarily ready to consider being prepared for, in the future, some sort of enlightenment. There's a lot of people patting themselves on the back, and I've posted about this before, and I've rambled about this before on the podcast. And for those of you who are new, I've been only working with Anchor for the last, week or two, and you can find lots of previous podcast episodes on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, or Google Play, hashtag Mr. Zeppo. So to wrap things up, my friends, we are all this one united, integral, inseparable, multifaceted, collaborative entity. And we're so distracted in yelling at each other and arguing with each other about how we are individuals and that we demand and require and need these individual freedoms. Insert here whatever you want to cling to. Guns, politics, party identity, spiritual, religious labels, whatever you're clinging to, that's that which you must let go of. That's what letting go means abdicating everything, not just the things you hate, not just the things that annoy you, not just the things that disturb you, that confront you, that conflict with you, but even the things that you think you are. We must abdicate them. Abdication is not just an absent-minded letting go, it is a rendering up unto the Most High. It is a giving unto the most brilliant flame of divine fire to consume and destroy our sins and our failures and our weaknesses, so that we may be like phoenixes rising out of their own ashes, fully redeemed to transcend. Redeemed meaning ready and prepared and already transcendently beyond our previous confine or confines, so that we may enter whatever the next dimension, whether it's 4D or 6D or 11D, whatever. People use different labels. None of our labels in our languages, English, Spanish, German, French, Italian, name any language. Unless we're all fluently speaking Aramaic again. Aramaic, the original language of the ancient mystics. Not just Jesus, but all those that came before him. Unless we're all fluently anchored in Aramaic again, then we shouldn't be bullshitting each other about this or that, because words are meaningless words. The energy is where it's at. The frequency is where it's at. The choice-making process that does not need language, that's where it's at. And by where it's at, I mean that's where you are being invited to step up, to broadcast instead of take in and greedily consume. You, my friends, I will leave you with this thought. You, my dear listeners and friends, are the very burning, flaming fire of God that is destroying, consuming, uptaking, rendering into ash all the seeds of discontent that keep people unhappy and determined to cause drama and pain and suffering in themselves and in each other. So by being in this position of rendering and abdicating up unto the Most High all of our failures, all of our weaknesses, all of our most tragic clusterfuck of failures, and sincerely apologizing to the world, to the individuals, to the conglomerate entity that is its oneness, apologizing and begging the forgiveness of all those entities, that will render the healing that this species has been denying itself for centuries. And then we can talk about what's next. Instead of arguing about what should be next,